know that the promotion of a podcast takes more time and effort than publishing it? Yep. Hello, and welcome to the show. This is the Delaware Blogger Podcast, and I invite you to subscribe because every week I'm giving you podcasting pointers that will help you to broaden your brand and expand your exposure online. The Delaware Blogger Podcast publishes every Saturday at 10 a.m. And I invite you to also subscribe to my blog, Delblogger.com, and you can see my face in the place on YouTube at Delaware Blogger. Now, today we're going to talk about maximizing your podcast reach, tips for promoting your podcast after publication. Episode number 347. Now, it takes several steps to prepare for a show, whether it's just you on the mic or if you have guests or co-hosts. There are even more steps to take after you publish a podcast episode, and that's what we're going to cover today.
Are you ready to join the billion-dollar podcasting industry? If so, Blake's Booth Podcasting Studio is ready for you. Whether you're just starting out and have no equipment, or you're a seasoned pro but need help with production, Blake's Booth Podcasting Studio has everything you need. Conveniently located in Middletown, Delaware, Blake's state-of-the-art production facilities make producing your first or 100th podcast a breeze. No matter what kind of project you have in mind, the professionals at Blake's Booth Podcasting Studio can help with your production or give you the tools to produce it on your own. At the heart of Blake's Booth Podcasting Studio is award-winning blogger, vlogger, and CEO Antoinette Blake, and her goal is simple: to help one more entrepreneur be successful. So stop making excuses and start making your podcast, audiobook, e-course, and other online dreams come true. Call Blake's Booth Podcasting Studio now. 302-261-3530. That's 302-261-3530.
Now, after you've published that episode, now the fun begins. It's time to get the word out. You got to share it on social media, email your list, post it on your website, your blog, and even in a newsletter. Remember, it's never one and done. If your podcast drops in the morning, then share it again that evening, and then every 10 or 21 or 31 days afterwards. It's never one and done. Use your schedulers. Promo Republic is what I use, but there's Buffer and Hootsuite. Make sure that you're sharing your podcast because you never know when someone's going to be listening to it for the very first time, and it may not be on the day that you published it. The second thing you want to do is you want to create a blog post, right? Or an article. If you create a blog post or an article to accompany this episode, it's going to get you more eyes on your episode and drive more traffic to your website or to your blog. I repurpose my interviews on Out and About with Antoinette. I repurpose my solo shows from Del Blogger, the Delaware Blogger Podcast, the week after, and then I put it in my publisher to publish, my planner to publish every 21 days afterwards. So make sure that you are repurposing and scheduling it out so that people can hear it that people can read it in a blog post or on your website or on an article on LinkedIn or Medium. Third thing you want to make sure is if your hosting provider doesn't do it, you need to submit your podcast's RSS feed to all the directories, including iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio. And don't forget, there's a lot of little directories out there as well. So Google, do a deep dive and find those other directories that people are also listening to podcasts on to include your RSS feed. And of course, Amazon Audible, you have an option there, and TikTok. Transcripts. Yes, create a transcript. I know a lot of people say, no, I'm just going to talk. I'm going to wing it. I'm not going to write it. Well, that's fine. But now with AI, you can take that audio and get a written transcript and post that written transcript, clean it up, put it on your website, put it on your blog, create an article or newsletter. Why? because this is going to help with your SEO, your search engine optimization, and it's going to make your episodes more accessible to people with hearing impairments. So turn that audio into something written to share so that the search engine, those bots, can find the content as well. Podcasting groups. Join those podcasting groups and share. Make sure to stay active in those podcasting groups on social media, including LinkedIn, so that you can contribute to the conversation. You never know. Your input may help others if they're asking a question and you've done a show covering that topic, you can tell them. And if they ask for the link to your show, then you provide it, but you never drop your link and run, because you can get banned for doing that. So this is going to help you get more exposure and build relationships with other podcasters. And speaking of building relationships, if you have guests on your show, follow up with them. Thank them for their time. Follow them on their social. Share and comment. Why? Because it's going to build relationships and help you to get more guests in the future. And if you're sharing their content, perhaps they will share yours in addition to the show that they were on. And speaking of following up with guests, be a guest. Be a guest on other shows. Use those opportunities in those groups to be a guest on other podcast shows. They're always looking for guests. So this is going to help you to grow and expand your listening audience as well. Analytics. Yes. Analyze your stats. See how your episodes are performing. It's going to help you to determine what's working, not working, and where you may need to do some improvements. Hosting platforms such as Buzzsprout, which is where I am, provides us with the stats that helps us with knowing which episodes are resonating with our listeners. So check out those stats, look at those analytics, and if you have a show that did really well, hey, share it, share it, share it. Share it, if you got a big numbers, 10,000 downloads or 100,000 downloads, let people on social media know. Let them feel that fear. If they're not listening, FOMO, right? They need to be in the know as well. So analyze your stats, raise the roof, ring the bells when you get those really good shows. And last but not least, visuals. That's right. Create many videos, memes, audiograms, TikToks to stop the scroll on social media. You can share, the face you make when you just had a great interview, or you can, get on there for a few seconds and say, don't miss out on episode number, Stop the scroll. Have some animation, have some automation, have some, visuals that people can see when they're scrolling through their social media feed. So these are just a few tips on how to maximize your podcast reach, tips for promoting your podcast after publication. And guess what? I'm sure you've got some tips for me too. So send an email to info@ablakeenterprises.com. And don't forget, you can subscribe to my blog, delblogger.com, where you'll find more blogging tips and podcasting pointers, as well as the links to purchase a copy of my basic blogging tips for beginners or podcasting your purpose resource guide. So thank you for listening to today's episode of the Delaware Blogger Podcast. And if you found anything that I've said of interest to you, please subscribe and share with others. You may even want to leave a rating or a review, and check out a few other episodes while you're over here too. Want to talk? 15 minutes, I invite you to send an email to info@ablakeenterprises.com to schedule a 15-minute complimentary discovery call, or you can enroll in my 5-week podcast coaching session. So until the next time, this is the DE Diva, aka the Delaware Blogger, wishing you and yours a beautifully blessed day. And remember, sharing is caring. So please share this episode of the Delaware Blogger Podcast.